So I think we're live, Mark.
I think you might be right.
I think we're live, and welcome, Mark. You're my first guest
That's
on,
awesome.
on the Very Cool Real Estate Show.
This is a very cool real estate show. It's going to be a very cool real estate show because they got Marty hosting the show.
It's the Very Cool Real Estate Show, and I couldn't think of a better guest than my buddy Mark. And I actually, real quick, for people who don't know Mark, him and I, we met where, Mark? We met at our mastermind.
Yep, JDC Mastermind.
Actually, that's a funny story. So you weren't actually in my group to start.
Yeah, no. So we were in separate groups. I was running one of the pods with a couple guys, and then I had one-off met Eric in the early days of JDC. We started, exchanging emails, had a phone call, and then I guess you guys had someone drop, and he gave me a call, and I honestly wasn't going to do it because I was like, I don't have time for this. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just do it because who knows what's going to come out of it.
Let me tell you this: the guy that dropped out was the owner of Chubby's.
Oh way, really?
Yeah. So when I joined this group, I go, sick. The Chubby's guy, the CEO of Chubby's, gonna be. It's like it does like $30-40 million a year in sales. Like we're gonna learn a ton. He doesn't even respond to an email. So shout out to Chubby's for sucking and not even talking.
I got one pair of Chubby's left. I threw the other pair out.
No, and I get it. You're already a part of one, and then you got to join another one. But you've been a great addition to the team, man. And it wouldn't be the same without you. So I appreciate you coming in there.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off that, I mean, for people trying to get into real estate or trying to take their business to the next level, like this is what it's about. So since then, and we've only been doing that other one for a couple months now. I just started a commercial real estate one. Yesterday was our first meeting. And it's incredible to just start talking with other people, inspiring each other, and just keeping that motivation to kind of push you moving forward.
Well, hold on a second. So I didn't know about this commercial one. So let's dive into that a bit. So tell me how you got started to that, and what led you there.
Yeah, so it's part of the CRE circle, which is something AJ Osborne and Investor Go Brit are doing, and it's basically bringing a bunch of, I don't want to say like newer, but people who want to really break into the commercial space and don't know where to go to get information, kind of all together. Everyone's learning together. There's great foundational work that's going on. And what we're doing now is kind of setting up into little pods. And right now, the pods are kind of mixed with people kind of doing similar things. And then there's probably going to be bigger pods at another time specific to certain verticals within commercial. So maybe there's a multifamily, maybe there's a self-storage, maybe there's a light industrial. But it's just really cool to kind of start talking shop with those folks. And my whole reason for getting interested in commercial is I'm in the Northeast in Connecticut, so not too far from the New York border.
Yeah.
And we're close enough to New York City where once COVID happened and everyone kind of freaked out in the city, they just all kind of moved up. And so we've seen markets that we're normally appreciating like 1 or 2% all of a sudden jumping 20% in a year because now everyone wants to get out of the city. And the prices are just, they don't make sense, So going to commercial, the whole model where you're getting like to a cap rate based off operating income, and you can increase income and then increase the value of the asset. That just to me seems like a safer approach going forward, like a more reasonable approach. So that's kind of my whole interest in that space.
Yeah. So because you're in Connecticut, right? And obviously that's one of the toughest markets, just like New York. A lot of competition, but just the prices are insane. So it's really tough to like make sense of investment properties, like single family. So you kind of have to kind of think bigger, right? Is that kind of what your thoughts were?
Yeah. And I mean, even like I started in 2018, and the first two properties I bought, instead of sending like, hey, this is what I want to pay for your house, my broker, or my agent rather, sent in a 1-page contract, and it was executed in both instances, and higher offers came in after that, right after mine. So it was like just being so quick to market. I bought my third property a couple months ago, and I think it went on the market Friday, and I had it under contract by Monday. and that was just so they could get through the weekend and get a couple more offers in. And it's just stupid competition right now. So I'm actually, so although I am moving into commercial, my like last ditch effort with what I'm doing here right now is I'm sending about 1,000 mail pieces. So I sent about
Love it.
half out over the last 2 days. I'm going to see what that does, and I'm specifically targeting like 3, 4, and 5+ units in my local market. If I find something, I find something. I think it's might be too niched down, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks here.
Love it. So you're targeting 3, 4, 5+, right?
Yeah.
Is there like a max? Like, oh, I'm not going past 10, 15, 20?
No. So if I can keep it in my area, I'm okay with those kind of awkward kind of numbers, right? So like to me, like you almost have to go over 50 to have enough income to start really making sense for property management. But if I have enough smaller properties in my local market, I'm totally comfortable making my own property management to run that. So that's how I'm looking at it right now. My brother has some property in the area. My father has some property not too far away. So there's definitely economy of scales if we like all join forces.
Oh yeah. So that's good. So what got you into real estate? Was it your family talking about your father and your?
Yeah. So it kind of was
mother?
always around in like my life. Like my grandmother had a duplex, and we always heard, when we were little, like, oh, that's grandma's duplex and she gets the rent money from there. And then
That's cool.
my father built a new construction house when I was like real little. So he always talked about that. And then he built a commercial building in Connecticut where he had his business on one floor, and then he eventually rented out the second floor, and then eventually down the road made the third floor into like a penthouse apartment. So it's always been around. The one thing the reason I never wanted to go into real estate with what my father was doing, because I always heard from him, his building eventually was in essence leased to one tenant at one point. So it was like one tenant had, call it 80% of the rents coming in, and then the other penthouse apartment that wasn't going to really cover anything if that one tenant was gone. And I think he said it was like 6 months in between tenants one time to get someone else in there. So I always heard like risk, but it was really the type of asset he had. And that was where the risk was. So I just found him, I was telling you, he has property nearby. I found him an 8-unit a year ago now. I don't even remember, everything blurs together, but we 1031 out of his commercial building into a higher end 8-unit multifamily. And he loves that. That's
great.
Yeah, it's totally what he was looking to do. He's got 8 people paying rent versus just basically 1 or 2 people. So it's just a lot safer investment for him right now.
And how long did he have that one with the commercial in there?
At least 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did probably well on that.
Yeah. And it was ground up construction. I mean, he came from Portugal when he was younger, and he didn't have much credit because I think he did this before he was 30 years old. And he got my grandfather on my mom's side to co-sign on the loan. And my grandfather took a chance on him, and
that's great.
Worked out. Yeah. So
for some reason, I feel like the Portuguese are really good builders. Another one of my mentors, Gabe DeSalvia, is Portuguese, and he comes from a building family. So
they know how to do some of that stuff pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's kind of where you got a little bit of the bug. Yeah. And this is an interesting story though. So before real estate, and we're gonna go a little off topic off real estate because that's what I do. Because guess why? It's my show. You know what? But you were into archery or bow hunting, right?
Yes, huge into bow hunting.
All right. So the reason why I talk about it is because I know that my partner is actually a huge fan of bow hunting. Big hunter. Well, he's new. He's a newer hunter, but he took the lessons and everything, and and we kind of like we like those guys. We like Joe Rogan. We like Cam Haines. Yeah. We like those guys that bow hunt, that stuff. I don't do it, but I just really like the people that do. So yeah. How did you get into that? I always thought that was interesting.
Oh, that's just been like forever, like in my blood in a sense. So, I mean, there's pictures of me 5 years old holding up like dead rabbits and pheasants. Like my father always did it. We had beagles growing up, so hunting was always a part of it.
Right.
I used to beg him when I was younger to take me deer hunting, and him and his friends used to mess around with me. I remember one time they came back from deer hunting, hanging the deer in the garage. I had to be like 5 years old, and I'm all pumped up. I was like, "Yeah, they got the deer." So then I grab a deer call and I like go outside. And I start like blowing it somewhere. And one of his friends was like, "Oh my God, you see that? The deer just ran by." And I swear to God, it wasn't until like 5 years ago that like came in my head. And I was like, these guys were totally messing with me. There was no deer.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so New York, I think at the time it was 16 you had to be before you could go deer hunt with firearms. Finally begged my dad to take me, went a couple times. I would have like a doe come in and I would be shaking like you wouldn't believe, such an adrenaline rush, so
Right.
nervous. And I've seen like a doe 1,000 times. It's not that anything
Sure.
exciting about, but just that rush I would get, it was just so cool to be out there and be in that moment. So I wanted more of it. Gun season short, so I got my archery license. My dad had some clients in the area that had some property, and then I started, and I never looked back. I mean, I had a website. It used to be called nybowhunter.com, and I had that for like 10 years.
It's a great name.
Yeah, and I mean, I started filming with some guys, and we were trying to go that way with it.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just always been something.
And it's in your blood. And you know what's funny, because I think there's a transit. I think it might correlate in regards to hunting for real estate deals, right?
Yeah.
Kind of liking that chase, kind of like being it. Like not everybody likes this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of odd, right? When you're talking to friends and family, yes, you have some family that does it, but the majority of time it's, you're a little kind of off. You're a little weird. You're kind of like an outsider if you're an investor in real estate, because it's not Dancing with the Stars, right? It's not like something that anybody can just kind of sit down and do. So I think there's something there of like, it's something that it is in you a little bit of like hunting, finding a deal, getting it. That stuff's like, obviously you're marketing. So you just sent out 1,000, like you're kind of after it right now. And was there a reason why you kind of put the pedal to the metal recently, rather than, because why now are you really starting to get after it?
So I think I have more of a desire to just kind of really grow the real estate side. Right now it's just like, in essence, like a side hustle for me. I still have my W-2, but I really enjoy the real estate. I enjoy finding the deals. I enjoy kind of underwriting getting them under contract, and then kind of thinking like how are we gonna change this place and make it better for our tenants, and what can we do here? Where's there added opportunity? Can I rent this garage out? Can I build storage in the basement or coin up laundry in the basement? Like I don't know, it just kind of gets me going.
I love it.
And part of it is the increase in pricing right now with everything on the MLS. It'll come on the market. The people are putting ridiculous prices just because they want to see if someone will pay for it. And a lot of times people are. And I just thought, maybe this is a different way of doing things. I mean, a couple months before this, I actually went to my first foreclosure auction. I was like so excited. I had my $25,000 check in hand. I handed it in. I got my number. I'm walking around the house, and I'm like, perfect.
Is that what you need in Connecticut just to even go to the party? Is $25K?
Yeah, so you go right to the there's like a state website. It has every county, and it tells you all the houses that could be on foreclosure, the date, and it'll tell you in that notice how much you need to bring as a minimum to the auction. So it depends on the house. I mean, if you're going to like Greenwich, Connecticut, you might need to bring like $100,000.
Sure.
But where I was looking, it was less, and it looked like the perfect house.
They don't even want you messing around. They don't want people coming in and just kind of just being spectators. If you're going to go in there, you better have 25, 50, 100,000 just to play.
Yep. And that's what you have to give them right away. And then I think the balance is due 30 days later. Mm-hmm. So you either have to have cash lined up, hard money lined up, something, because you're not going to get a traditional financing in that amount of time for an uninhabitable home.
Right. Yeah. And so what did the players that have been there forever, were they like, who's the hell is this guy? Kind of like nudging at you, looking at you, pointing at you. Who are you?
So there were more people than I expected there. But walked around the house. There was junk all in the house. I was like, this is perfect. And then I noticed the appliances were missing. And I was like, well, we'll just add that as another cost.
Sure.
And it looked good. And I think my max was going to be like $200K on the house or something. First bid came out and there were like 9 bidders. And the first bid was like 210. And I was like, oh, there goes that.
That was just math. And then starts
then
out with that.
2 of them got into it. And, you know, it was these 2 women. I know they had like a contractor friend with them. And at one point he was like, you guys got to stop. And I think they put one more bid in and got it. And, you know, who knows how they did on it. But
I'm gonna tell you, not well. So you know, that's the thing is, I think what you will find is because of the marketing that you're doing, right? I think there's the law of the first deal. When you find your first deal, and it kind of gets you going, right? Kind of, I believe that Michael Blanc, law of the first deal, kind of said that, kind of opened my eyes. And I think there's the law of the first off-market deal. And I think once you kind of get a taste of like how that is, like an off market where it's just you, you know, with the seller, and you both are figuring it out together and making the transaction occur, you're not going to want to go back.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I really believe that. I mean, everything else is gravy. If you get something on the market, gravy.
Yeah.
But I love that you're focusing on off market, because I think that's something that, again, it's off the beaten path. It's you're getting something before hopefully it goes to that county auction, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, those are, and oh, by the way, you're solving problems. That person who is in that house probably had a problem. They didn't buy that house knowing that, you know, thinking that was going to happen someday, right? So you're definitely getting there before it gets to that situation, and that's why I like off market. But no, that's awesome. So you're still doing your W-2. We actually just went on a sick trip. And that's one of the beauties of you know, having that W-2. But also, you actually had some issues with your property, right, when that was going down.
Yeah. So I was extremely fortunate. I was able to take like 22 days vacation, which I'm still shocked they let me do. But that's also why I want to move away from the W-2, because then I can do that and no worries.
Exactly.
So it took 2 months to go to Italy, Greece, and Portugal. So it was incredible. We worked most of the trip, a little bit in the start, and then kind of most of the time in Portugal, because we were staying with family, and then Italy was vacation at the end. But it was awesome. So like each week I had every Friday off, and I had 3-day weekends to go out and explore. And even with the time difference, I was working East Coast hours. So I got to wake up and go outside and explore a little bit, and like even go to town and have lunch and then come and work. So it was great to be immersed in that and have that experience and get kind of get a little taste of it. And, you know, some people might say like, you know, how am I going to leave? Like I have rental properties. And I have 3 properties. I have 8 doors. It's not a huge number, but I don't have third-party management. I manage it all myself.
Love it.
But I have great people that I work with, and I'm still trying to find, you know, the best people for each kind of role. But like my plumber, for example, if there's an issue and I call him, he's there within 5 minutes, no questions asked. And we've worked together enough where he knows if he has to open a wall and he sees other things, just fix it all, do it right, and it won't be a problem. So literally as soon as I landed in Greece, just from the US to Greece, day 1 of the trip, I get a text of water dripping through the ceiling.
Oh, so God.
Had to send the plumber out there. He took care of that. But I also had a renovation I was completing going on. We had inspections going on. I was moving the second floor tenant into the first floor. So I was having the lease agreements signed and all that fun stuff, getting them set up on the I use apartments.com right now for the payments. So I had to kind of transfer everything over to a new unit for them. And then I started a second renovation once that tenant moved out. But all while I was abroad. I think I had an electrical issue pop up too. But it was all kind of little bumps in the road. It took like, you know, a couple minutes on a phone to resolve it. And then I was kind of on to the next thing. So there's nothing.
Isn't that awesome? Like if you think back when you first started, you know, maybe when you bought your first property, right? Could you imagine being able to go through that situation abroad? Like if you like, could you think about yourself dealing with that abroad? Like you would probably have lost your mind, right?
It's definitely like a mindset change. Like my father's the perfect example. Like he's been like a hands-on hard worker his entire life. And even at his last building, he built it, but then when everything went wrong, he fixed it because he knew every inch of that building. On his new building, he's retired now. I think he's like 67 or something. And it's like, why are you going to this building and supervising the crew, like redoing a balcony? Or why are you going there work? And he's all he complains about is like, I've been there all day. I'm so tired. I didn't think I was buying another job. And I was like, you don't have to do any of that. But you
Right.
have to trust other people to do it. So
Right.
it's really important to just build those relationships, because then I think that allows you to kind of let go, not micromanage anybody, and just like let people do things. Like I'm not saying let bad or unskilled like laborers kind of do things that are going to get you in trouble, but if you build a relationship with a contractor or a plumber, like I've been looking for a contractor for a while, and I in essence have like my landscaper like GCing for me right now. He's got a masonry company. He does like the landscaping, but I have a 3-year relationship with him. He's able to manage the people. He's like my boots on the ground. He'll FaceTime me and show me progress on things. He'll kind of, work with me on everything. And it's just such a help to have people like that you can rely on. So
Yeah. I
definitely
mean,
building those relationships helps.
building relationships is killer huge because that initial jump to kind of trust that person is a pretty solid jump. But then those little other relationships now that you got from that person, hey, could you just mow my lawn too? I'm not saying that's what it was, but now you can have him as your GC and literally be your guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to know people that are going to be able to take care of, the roof or the siding and all those other things
Yeah.
that if you didn't give that guy a shot, because for me, I'm always like, listen, I trust everybody until you give me a reason not to. And that's
Yeah.
my thought. That's the way, but that's me. I know it's very tough for some people, but I've definitely won a lot more than I have lost being that
Yeah.
way. So I love that. I love that. And that's just like my father, same kind of thing. Like he's like, God, I've been working so hard. I'm at the property. I'm like, first of all, you want to be there. Let's stop the nonsense. You know what I mean? You definitely want to be there, but
Yeah.
that's another story. So tell me about the first deal. So you're how old during this? I mean, what was the thought process? You're like, was it like a house hack or how? Tell me the whole story.
So I had always heard about real estate. I started looking at it and starting listening to like the Bigger Pockets podcast. I started reading like some of Brandon's books, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all that
So
stuff.
education first
Yes,
is the way you went. Cool.
that was the way I went, but almost to like the analysis paralysis type stage where it's
Right.
like, you get to a point where if like 75, 80%, like that's more than good enough, because you're not going to learn the other lessons unless you do it the hard way.
Yep.
So just don't feel like you need 100%. And I was looking in my area, wasn't finding much, and then honestly my mom one day is like, oh, why don't you call your buddy Doug in Connecticut and see what he's doing up there? I don't even know why she said that, but I called him. And me and Doug, like, we were roommates in college, friends for like 10 plus years. And he's like, oh, I'm actually out with my realtor right now. Like, I'll have her give you a call and send some stuff your way. And she sent a couple deals my way. We went and walked them, got one under contract. And it was literally because I had that contact in that area. He runs a big catering venue up there. So he knows all the locals, like, politics, policemen, landscapers, construction workers, everybody. So I basically had access to his Rolodex, and he's got 10 homes up there, 2 that he's working with. And it was like just perfect to have this kind of mentor help me out, kind of get my foot in the water.
Yep.
And still to this day, if I need a contractor for something specific, I can give him a call. And if he hasn't used somebody, he knows somebody, or he knows somebody that knows somebody. And it's a great network to have. But having the boots on the ground is kind of what got me there.
Yeah, that's what that's what is called like the unfair advantage, right? You have it,
Yeah.
but the thing is, a lot of people have unfair advantages. They don't tap into them. I think.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have advantages and they kind of go, well, yeah, that's Doug, my roommate. Yeah, he's got that. Well, it's like, use that, right? Like,
Yeah.
use the leverage of your network, because I believe, and I think you probably agree, that your network is your net worth, because that guy just helped you create an absolute a lot of net worth with those properties, right? So yeah, that's beautiful. Your energy, your whatever you were attracting, your mom must have picked up on it, and that's what happens. You just put it out there in the atmosphere, in the universe, saying, I want to do this. Boom, it got done. So that's really cool. That's actually really
and I'll give you another example of that right now. Like, I was just at the Bigger Pockets conference down in New Orleans. And
all right, let's talk about that. So give me everything on that, because I want to hear that. But go with your story first.
So I was supposed to leave Tuesday afternoon, and I was mentioning that CRE circle I'm in. So I introduced myself to AJ Osborne while I was at the show. And then he's like, oh, we should see if there's some other CRE circle people here. We'll go get lunch. So we're trying to work that together, but because it's midday and we're at a conference, we all ended up just kind of meeting at the conference lunch area and kind of sitting at a table. Really cool, talking, as a group with AJ. And he's like, we should do dinner tonight. And I'm ready to leave at 4:00. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to eat the flight. I'm going to book another hotel room. I'm going to book another flight for tomorrow. And I'm going to figure it out, because
I love that. That gets me up.
Yeah. I have no idea. Like, it might have cost me $500-600 basically to stay to have dinner with AJ Osborne. But I sat down across from AJ at a dinner with a bunch of other aspiring commercial real estate investors. And I got to hear AJ talk in like a small, intimate setting like that. And I don't know what's going to come out of that, but there might be something that comes out down the road. Maybe, that leads to, he finds a deal in my area that comes across his desk and it's way too small for him. And he's like, oh, Marc's in Connecticut. Let me send this to him. Like,
no, it's
who knows? I had that happen in a syndication that I invested in. Big player down in Kentucky, and a smaller unit came up across the street, and he's like, let me pitch it to my investors and see if anyone wants it. And I looked into it, and part of the idea was, because it was across the street from their big offering, and these were studios, and they had 1, 2, and 3s, and they had on-site property management. We could leverage the property manager, and then anyone that wasn't looking for their stuff, they could go and send them into the studio. The seller backed out of that deal, but I mean, that was an opportunity I never would have had if I didn't kind of put myself out there.
I love it. I love that. It's just, that's what it's about. That's what it's about, man. It's taking some real minimal risks. It's kind of just taking a little bit of discomfort. I mean, $500 is not a little bit, but in the grand scheme of what you're trying to build, it's going to come back 100-fold, right? So that's awesome, man. That's really cool. So for those that don't know AJ Osborne and what you're trying to do with that and CRE, kind of go into that a bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, so AJ's like the king of self-storage. I think he has over like 2 million square feet of self-storage that he owns. Kind of started ground up, like small family business, and he's grown to the point where now he's syndicating, and he even created like a big community of storage owners to kind of help them buy stuff at cheaper prices to compete with like some of the big REITs and everything. But he's like the Brandon Turner, Brandon Turner's real estate. AJ is to kind of self-storage, and he's just a really great guy. He knows the ins and outs of the business. He's not afraid to share his knowledge with everybody. He's really approachable. So he's got a book on self-storage investing. He's got a podcast on it. He's killing it right now. And I think a lot of guys are actually killing it right now, because it seems like there's more money available that people want to throw into real estate than ever before. I think AJ's last fund sold out in like less than a week.
Wow.
I know Brandon Turner's,
and that's not a small fund. We're talking hundreds of millions, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a raise. And even same thing with Brandon Turner. Like, I was talking to some of the I had a buddy that knew one of the Open Door guys. We were talking to Open Door, and like they were like, yeah, like 5 days we sold out. We're like, how do you invest that much so quick? It's insane.
It's amazing. No, that's awesome. So self-storage is definitely something that you are really interested in, and haven't got a deal yet, but are looking to really move into that realm.
So I think this weekend helped kind of clarify that for me. So I've been kind of open to where I could go. And that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing like the residential or
Sure. Oh
smaller
no.
multifamily where I am. If a good deal comes up, I will take advantage of it. Um, but I think I'm going to spend my energy on the self storage right now because I feel like I have such a network there that I can kind of lean on, that it would kind of be silly to put my resources somewhere else when I have, this group of people I can work with that'll probably help me get where I want to go faster.
Yep. Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did
Yeah.
you run into anybody from the JDC group?
Yes, I did run into a couple people, and I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember who exactly right now, but
No problem. No problem.
I do remember.
On
I
the
do.
spot. No
Oh
worries.
no, whoa, how'd I forget? Des.
You got Des. You got. Did he wear his jacket? Tell the story about that.
He did not. So
He didn't wear the jacket.
he did not, man. I was a little bummed out.
Wow.
But
We'll have to talk in private about that.
Yeah, but Des is on our group. He wasn't gonna go. I told him, dude, just check it out. It's a great networking opportunity. And he texted me like 2 or 3 times, like, man, he's like, this is awesome. He's like, I got way more out of this than I expected to. He's like, thanks for bringing me to this so I could be like open minded about it. So yeah, it was great. I wish I got to spend a little more time with him, but he was busy, kind of,
He was working
running gun in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm ready to hear his feedback when we all meet next week.
That's awesome. No, that's great. Well, that's a beautiful thing, man. I think that I could talk for anybody. I think joining a mastermind, going to these events, especially if you're kind of like in your circle, like the only one doing real estate or investing or a business owner, it's really tough to kind of share war stories, connect, talk about what's coming down the line. And, you need to be with the like-minded folks, right? To really just feed into each other, and really get amped up and motivated about what's going on. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And when you see those people there actually face to face and they're like, yeah, this isn't fake. This isn't made up. Like it's real.
Yeah.
I think that gives people a lot of confidence.
Yeah. It's awesome. Like I have one friend that he's had a duplex for years and he's been doing all the work, and I still think it's not rented out like 4 years later. And it like kills me because he's not like investor minded. And I'm like, dude, you're losing so much money. Just pay for someone to do it. And like, you'll make it back so quick. And, like everyone has to kind of learn their own way. Like I did all the work on my first floor apartment, and I don't know, it's been offline for, it was like 9 months till I finally was like, let me get someone in here to just finish it because I need money. Yeah. And now I have someone working on the top floor, and it's going to be done in like 2 months. It's just like big difference.
Well, you learn because you kind of got punched in the face. I mean, if you're making the same kind of just, you kind of got to make that mistake, right? To realize how much simpler life can be if you just hire someone who this is what they want to do, right? Because I don't want to do the work. I want to find the next deal, or I want to network, or I want to raise money. All those things where that I can put a dollar amount to. Okay, great. Let's just get out and do it. The other stuff is where I think the magic happens.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. But
I'm feeling like I need to get rid of my toolbox. I have this nice like Milwaukee Rolly toolbox with a bunch of like DeWalt tools in it, and I was like, this is perfect. I could just take it to any property and do all the work. And I'm like, no, don't do any of the work.
No, especially when you're in Portugal.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in Europe trying to enjoy.
Exactly.
Well, I know you got a hard stop here coming up, so I enjoyed speaking with you, Mark. It's always nice talking with you.
Yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. This was awesome.
Yeah, and we'll have you back. We want to see what happens with storage. You're episode 1, so it's we got the very cool real estate show, and it's very cool. That's all. Yeah, we're just cool. We're chill. We don't need. We're not here beating our chest. We're just shooting the shit, talking to people.
I like it, man. I got a bunch of people around here that I think would love to kind of come talk to you too.
Hell yeah. No, that's what it's about. I really wanted this to be, a conversation. We didn't really get into a lot of the numbers on stuff. I think what it was about is just, hey, you took a chance. You're also working at W-2, which a lot of people are when they start, right? I mean, I just was able to leave maybe a year and a half ago. So it's part of the life transition into a full-time real estate investor. And some people don't, that doesn't mean they have to. Some people love the W-2s more than anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's just good to have you on so you can kind of speak to that, speak to Bigger Pockets conference, talk about your time with a mastermind, and it's how we met. So I'm glad we did.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, man. This has been real fun. So appreciate you having me on.
Hell yeah, brother. We'll see you soon again, but thanks for being here.
All right. Take care.
See you guys. Bye.